Use your hands. I'm Officer Callahan with the UTSA. Get your hands up, dude. Whoa, what are you doing? Not my back. Give me your hands.
A UTSA police officer facing termination. Two of his supervisors demoted after this altercation outside an off-campus apartment that was never reported to the department's command staff.
Now, as a Defenders investigation uncovered last night, the footage instead was discovered during a review of the officer's interactions with the public.
A man seen the video being thrown to the ground was then handcuffed. He's 23-year-old Jonathan Richardson. He told us he did not file a complaint because he did not believe the department would take it seriously.
I'm just trying to make it, and this is what I got to go through to make it everyday life. And I don't feel like that's right.
Now, Dillon Collier joins us now. First of all, how did you hear about this?
We had a source come forward and say this video existed. The university is just now starting its investigation of this officer, and if you make a request, I think you'll be able to get a copy of it. We made the request, and sure enough, they released 16 minutes of footage from the officer's body camera that he was rolling on the night in question.
Let's put this into context for a second, Dillon. What were those officers doing at this complex in the first place?
There was a call to SAPD for a reported shooting that night. Officers from SAPD and UTSA, which the main campus is just a few blocks south of this complex, they arrived and found a 21-year-old man had accidentally shot himself. He appeared to be under the influence of alcohol and possibly drugs. The video shows the UTSA officer then canvassed the nearby apartment complex looking to find anybody that may have seen or heard anything in connection to the shooting, which on this video no one had. It was completely unrelated.
All right, so under the investigation, they found that Officer Callahan used poor judgment, as they said, and violated department policies. Right. How exactly? What does that mean? You
saw a few things here. One, this altercation took place on video and was never reported to command staff by Callahan or a number of other officers from his own department that either witnessed it or walked up while the gentleman was in handcuffs. So that's a big one. Number two was the altercation itself. Richardson comes out of the apartment complex, his hands are up, and the officer's reaction is, one, for Richardson trying to pull up his pants, but two, another person in the apartment slowly closes the door. So Richardson is thrown to the ground because of the action of some other person. So I think that brought the officer's actions into question.
Yeah, the officer says, I understand I'm being aggressive. The reason I'm being aggressive is I don't feel safe. Nobody's in trouble. We're just trying to figure out what's going on.
And again, I mean, I don't want to second guess police officer's actions. He didn't know whether the folks in the apartment were connected to the situation outside with the person who had shot himself, but it was very clear early on that the folks in the apartment had no idea that there had even been a shooting nearby. And then at that point, you have to kind of question what the actions were.
Could there be a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit of some sort?
There could. Richardson, we were able to track him down. He still lives at the apartment complex. He didn't even want to file a complaint. He was obviously in the video very upset by what happened. So I think that would be something that he would have to pursue, and I didn't get the feeling that he wanted to do that at this point.
Now, this officer and the chief of UTSA Police, you offered them both an opportunity to speak on camera, and
Callahan has an appeal process, somewhat similar to what happens with SAPD officers that receive an indefinite suspension. The university's claim is that that process has not finished, and until it is, Chief Lewis is not going to be available to comment publicly on this.
How often do they review the footage of the officers?
They called it a standard review, so according to the department, they do it on a regular basis.
So the crux of the thing here, Dillon, is we still don't know why this was not reported to command staff and that Callahan failed to fill out that use of form report after all of this happened.
Which a use of force report, it's used by police departments all across this country. Anytime you have to even make physical contact with a person, technically you're supposed to fill out a report and explain why you had to gain compliance from a person. This obviously goes way beyond that. It's way further down the line on the use of force continuum, and no report was ever filled out for some reason.
Do you know how often they do these random reviews of officers?
They wouldn't tell us how often it takes place. This incident happened February 14th. The review took place March 28th, so that was 6 weeks later. So I guess the assumption would be every couple months.
The use of police body cameras has been a subject of debate for a number of years now. UTSA obviously has them now and is going to play an integral part in this story, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is one of the first instances where we in the media in the San Antonio area were given access to body camera footage. And a big reason why is because no one was criminally charged, so we don't have a pending investigation. So this footage, once it's archived, is technically available for the public.
Well, that was the other thing that was interesting to me, is that you did get a hold of the footage. You've tried many times to get footage, and not just from them, but from a lot of different sources, and it's not always easy.
It's very difficult to get body camera footage, and you have to meet a number of criteria to even get them to consider it for release, including you have to know the name of a person that was involved in the incident, where exactly it happened, the time, and the date. And once you meet that, then it's up to, well, if it's an open investigation, we're still not going to release it. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Now, you mentioned at the top of this interview that not only did you get UTSA Police respond, SAPD did as well. Was that a support role, or did they play an active part of the investigation in any form or fashion?
It was technically an SAPD case. This was their jurisdiction. We are 4 blocks north of UTSA's campus. So even though it's close to UTSA, and they've had other calls up there where UTSA police respond, this was an SAPD case. They're the ones who called the ambulance to bring the guy who shot himself to the hospital. So UTSA was playing a support role in this case, and in this instance was the officers that were canvassing the apartment complex.
So your potential follow-ups, obviously, what happens to this officer's career after his appeal, and whether or not any lawsuits are filed.
Yeah, if Richardson decides to pursue it and file some sort of civil suit.
Great story.
Thank you.
Again.
Dillon Collier from our Defenders. Of course, this story is online at ksat.com.